thanks for watching. I'm Robert Heaton, Managing Partner for Australia of Global PMI Partners. We specialise in post-merger and acquisition integration on both the buy side and the sell side. I'm joined today by Tony Brown, CEO of Divest Merge Acquire, a Brisbane headquartered company that assists clients nationally, internationally with acquisitions, divestments and capital raising. In this short video discussion, Tony will outline 3 sell-side case studies where earlier actions would have added many thousands of dollars onto the company value. I'm sure you're going to find the next 20 minutes interesting. Tony, welcome.
Thanks, Robert. Good to be here.
We've spoken before. This COVID-19 pandemic has presented plenty of time for reflection. And we're seeing many business owners deciding that this is now the time to sell their business. There's been an abundance of online posts advising business owners what they should and should not do. And while that's good, I believe most people learn best from real examples where taking early action has paid big dividends. What's your thoughts?
Well, certainly getting advice well before you take your business to market gives you the opportunity to get things in order. As selling your business is a one-way journey and mistakes can be costly.
Well, yeah, true. And you must have seen many business sales over the years where early action has saved owners from making those costly mistakes. So I thought as we went through today, you might run through 2 or 3 case studies that we've talked about recently to highlight those top mistakes and show how they can be avoided.
Thanks, Robert. Yes, sure. I've seen my fair share of business owners who haven't sought early advice and who have subsequently made mistakes and have lost significant dollars or left it on the table for the new owners. Where we have been called in early, we've been able to save many potential dollars for the sellers, as well as stopping some big things that could have actually killed a sale off in its tracks. So I think the idea would be to go through a few of those to help the viewers understand what things to look out for and where they could save some money before they take their business to market, if you're happy with that.
Yeah, that'd be terrific. And I think you've got 3 really good examples to share with people. Perhaps I can ask you to walk through those and then just summarise the key takeaway at the end of each one. And then what I'll do is I'll make sure when this video goes live that we actually put up a 1-slide screenshot of the key points of the case study as well.
All right, that'd be great. Sorry. So the first thing that owners need to understand, and if they don't already, then it changes their outlook on their business sale, and that is how businesses are valued. So it's all about the profit, and a multiple of the profit is primarily what drives the business value. Now, a lot of owners own their businesses for 30 years or more and still only find that out when it's too late. So once you know that the business value, the enterprise value, is driven by the profit or a multiple thereof, then you can look and say, well, that includes everything required to generate that profit. Now, that includes balance sheet items such as debtors, creditors, plant and equipment. Now, a business over time tends to put on weight around its, we'll call it, the balance sheet is really the virtual waistline of a business. And as businesses mature, the debtors might blow out to a level where the owners are comfortable looking after their customers, some of whom become friends, and they're not really diligent on collecting money. We had one client who let his debtors go. When we said that the debtors are included in the enterprise value, he said, well, I can tighten that up by $500,000. And he went away for 6 months and proved that the business could operate with that level of debtors being tighter. Another one had stock. He'd just carried stock as his bank. It was actually timber. And there's many others like that as well. And once they realised that the stock required to operate the business was less than he was carrying, he needed to tighten that stock down. And sometimes you can reverse engineer that and call it excess stock. And another one, and this is pretty common, plant and equipment in the business where you go to trade in a plant, like a dozer, and you're going to get nothing for it, so you'll park it in the back paddock. And those units are included in the plant and equipment of the business. So when you go to sell it, you're not going to get $1 more for that business, whether that plant and equipment includes all your old stuff or not. So the key thing there is to get that off the balance sheet, go and sell it for real cash out of the business. If you need to hire an equivalent unit for one day a year, then you do so, and you build that cost back in. So there are things to do just on the balance sheet category to trim down your waistline of the business. And without getting $1 less for the business, you can take a whole lot of dollars off the table before you even get to market. So that's one point. Would you like me to go on?
Yeah, that'd be good. I just can't get out of my head now the images that I've seen of many engineering companies with all their old machinery and equipment nicely lined up in the yard that's been there for God knows how many years. So yeah, I can very much relate to that one. Yeah, please go on, Sam.
And the second point is a bit related to that, and that is when you do collect all of that equipment and you pretty much build a junkyard out the back of your property. And in one particular case, they bought another property. So they were operating the business over two large industrial blocks. And once we showed them the value of the business that was after notional rent on these two large properties, the owners realized and said, well, we don't really need all that property to operate the business. So they promptly went away and contracted the business, got rid of all the rubbish, sold it. When I say rubbish, it's someone else's fortune, of course, if you've got old plant and equipment or even steel and other junk. That's junk to the business, but it might be used one day. The sort of thing that's, you just keep it there for that rainy day.
Yeah.
So they basically proved that they didn't need that extra block of land. It was $200,000 a year in market rent. So that added approximately $800,000 to the value of the business because the profit was up by $200,000, and you can say a rule of thumb by 4 times that. And not only did they get an extra $800,000 onto the value of their business in a tax effective way, but also they still had that second block which they had a rental income on independent of the business, so another $200,000 a year coming in. So you can see how taking that kind of action has transformed what they would ultimately end up with in the value of their business.
And I've got to say, relatively simple things to do. They're not sophisticated changes you've got to make. It's just sitting in plain sight, and you need to take stock of what that is and how it's affecting your profitability.
Exactly right. Once you understand the numbers and the way the business value works, it's not a collection of just your assets. It's all about profit and what's required to generate that profit.
Yeah.
Now, the third example is to do with showstoppers. And we had a business, this is pretty common, where we talked about the junk and the clutter around the business. In this particular case, not only did they have all that, but they had an engineering shed, a Second World War igloo, which is one of those dome-shaped hanger, a hanger. And it had holes in the side of it. And I asked the question when we were doing our preliminary work, what the cladding was made of, and the answer was it was asbestos. So we suggested that before we get to market, they have an environmental audit done of the site. And sure enough, $500,000 of recladding later, they were ready to go to market. Now, had that gone through to due diligence, the buyers would inevitably have done that environmental report. It's a pretty standard due diligence checklist item, and it would have stopped everyone in their tracks while probably another 6 months expired while the cladding was done, or the new owners may have made a substantial retention if they were going to go ahead before that process was undertaken. So it's far better to get all those things sorted out before you let buyers anywhere near your business and you lose momentum in a sale process.
That's great, Tony. And just summarising that, I mean, we're not talking about major issues here. There's simple things that people can do that have a significant impact on the business. Just listening to this reinforces the conversations you and I have had over the past few months. So it's good that we record these pearls of advice for a wider audience. And if you'll permit me, it's reminded me of the work that we do at Global PMI Partners, that's complementary to what you do at Divest Merge Acquire.
Yeah.
We're usually called in to help sellers make those improvements that present the business as an attractive proposition. And then, of course, your DMA's Divest Merge Acquire services follow on to ensure the seller gets the maximum value from their sale.
Yeah.
We've often had feedback that our pre-sales assistance helps the seller uncover buried treasure that they didn't know they had in their own backyard. But that's another conversation at another time.
Yeah.
Tony, thanks for your contribution to this conversation this morning. I think we can call that a wrap and leave our respective contact details up on screen should anyone want to talk further. Can I leave it for you to offer some closing remarks?
Well, thanks, Robert. It's certainly been a pleasure to discuss this with you today, and I hope our viewers get some good tips and some food for thought as to how to get their business properly ready for sale and optimise their overall outcome with your help and ultimately ours.
Thanks, Tony. Great for that. It's been a pleasure talking with you this morning. We'll close it off at that and say bye for now.
Cheers. Cheers, Robert.